Got some high technology here. Okay.
Why? What's wrong?
Still doesn't work.
What do you mean?
So I passed it through a drive, and it's saying it's not because it may contain a virus. Hey, guys, distracted.
Restart that computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, or, yeah, because that's the compressed one.
Yeah, I decompressed it when it was already compressed, yeah.
Yeah, it should not. Maybe somebody downloaded something on that one. Restart, use another system, whatever you want. It shouldn't give you that difficult time. If you guys are having virus issue on your system when it detects it as a threat, let me know. I'll have the IT people in here tomorrow taking a look at it. Because I don't have privilege to control. All right. So we're gonna open up the terminal. We're gonna do an update. So sudo apt update.
Let's case it says, do I want to allow this app to make changes?
Yes.
Just gotta hit the kind of permission.
What is that? No. Close that. You're not in the right area. So where's your instruction for your lab? Open that document up and follow the steps, please. Yeah, you gotta start from number 1.
Like when download, you can see away with the one you have, the one they upload. It's also so it's just more. It's updated.
Yeah.
And you would have to upgrade yours, and that would take.
So obviously the download.
Yeah, I would say just download it again.
And we have copied the compressed one onto your drive a while back too, Gabriel. Okay, so we're gonna update the Kali virtual machine, right? The OS, and then you're gonna check your IP address. I know you know the IP address, but I want to make sure whatever the target address is, you need to make sure that you record it so that way you can use it for the later steps. So we're gonna use the IP address. We're gonna record that here, 10.0.2.15. Okay. So I did FTP server with my class from last night, which is 41A. And I also did HTTP server. I think some of you are in that class as well. Just to kind of give you an overview, we can make an HTTP server using Apache. You've seen that already last time, right? But we can also create a web server using NGINX. And this is a way that it's a type of web server that allows you to do reverse proxy, load balancer, mail proxy, and HTTP cache. Alternatively, if you want, you can use Apache. But when we set up the actual website through Python, you're going to see that it's going to come up as Apache. That's okay, right? Apache is the main product for Linux web server. But you would see other packages that are coming up that's also using Apache background technology. Okay, so we have down our IP address. So once you boot your Kali, you update and then you obtain your IP address. And I'm gonna install additional server components on here so that way we can scan and see something fun. So sudo apt install dbwa. You've seen this before. This is damn vulnerable web app. Basically, it's a web application that doesn't have any kind of security. So when we look at the result, just be mindful that we are going to run damn vulnerable web app. And so when I press the install, it's going to ask me yes or no. So I'm going to say yes. For the DVWA here. So I'm at step 15. So after you install, you have to start it. For most of the products that are third-party software that we just installed, we usually do its command, and then you would do a dash and you just tell it to start. And it's gonna prompt you with the password, so we can say Callie. And I try to document all those steps so it doesn't get you confused. Right? So it's gonna open the browser, it's gonna say DVWA like this. And when we get to more of like the injection attack part, we'll use some of this component more like car side scripting here. So you can take a look at it if you want. Any question? Are you waiting? I don't just have a question. You extract it? Make sure we extract it onto your bottle. And anybody else? You can. Yeah, if your system is capable of running it. It's not letting you download. Yeah, I have a USB that's going around, so. Can, but you know, this class I require attendance, so. It wouldn't be fair for everyone to have, you know. But you can wait a little bit and the USB will be done. You still have a lot of time. There's like about 2 hours more that we can go. And it doesn't take very long to do the lab, so. Okay. So are we good? Any question? All right, then you can come back to the terminal. You can close out that website. You can leave that open and open another terminal. We can, we're gonna use Python to activate or bind the server. So we're gonna do a Python 3. And if the system doesn't have Python, you have to install it. And it doesn't do sudo app install Python 3. It's a little bit different. So you can go to Python website to look at how you install Python. So if you're using a Python 3 command, you are going to bind the server with this address to the port number, which is 9000. We're not binding it to 80 because if you bind it to 80, other services are also using 80 and it's going to throw an error later. Okay, so we're going to do a HTTP server and we're going to do a double dash. We're going to do a bind and you can copy and paste the command once you have your server running. Now it's gonna, oh, sorry. Did I find that? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Develop.
Some of these computers are like slow.
I think
Like that one was slow for me the other day.
I think he was trying to build different pod, but yeah.
So once you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to utilize the port 9000, right, for that specific address as HTTP server, but we haven't activated it fully yet, right? So you want to leave this running, open another terminal. You can open as many if you need to, and then zoom in. And then we're going to make an index file. So this is like the home page file, similar to what we seen before, right? So we're going to do an echo welcome to my server, whatever text you wanted to put on the page. And then we're going to point it to do a till index. Oops. .html.
Yeah, it takes some-
So we created an index file, which is the welcome page or the first home page for our particular website. And then we'll just test it. So if you call on Firefox to open the app, and then we're going to access our server. 15. Now you notice that you saw a little bit of that, and it says that our error occurred, temporarily unavailable, too busy, try again in a few moments. So on that, and I wanted to come back to here and look at its status. You should be able to bind it. It's possible that yeah, it's doing the unable to connect, too busy. Yeah. Oh, I'll give it to Paul. Copy it to your desktop and then extract it on your desktop, so that way you don't have complications. Let me see if I close that. Yeah, it is showing me that it's busy, but let's start the web server. So if you're not able to see the page where it's just, this is my welcome to my server, that's fine. You can take a screenshot there. It's supposed to show you the page. On mine, I have to see why it's showing connection issues. Yeah, I think something is blocking it coming back, because you do see it pop up and then it went away. So we'll go ahead and start the web server. So we're not just trying to look at the website, right? We're actually trying to set up the web server so we can scan it. So if you do a start nginx, right? For system control start. So you're gonna start that service because you install it, and it's gonna ask you for your passcode. And if it pop up this, you don't have to open another terminal, but whenever that the service is running, okay. And then we'll check it again. See if it's gonna do a local host. Yeah, so once you start it, it loads the default page. Earlier, it didn't let us run the Python, so by step 25, you should be able to see the default page. Okay, and you can leave it running. Yeah. So when you get stuck here, if it says it doesn't show you the screen, that's fine. You can screenshot. It says page is not available. Because if we do scan it at that point, you're gonna see the status code for it anyways, right? It's too busy, it's not responding. So as you go, if you start your web server, you're gonna see that you're gonna be able to load it through the local host. And then what is shown on the web page is just Apache default page. I should have put this down, so.
In this case, it's not using VM. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
So once you run your server, you can open up another terminal, and use the one that you haven't, that is not running anything. So for step 26, we're gonna do a telnet, and then we're gonna do a 10.0.2.15. And we're gonna check port 80. So it shows that I am able to connect it with port 80. You see that? It says connected to that, right? So take a screenshot. So I know that port 80 is open. Why? Because that's used for HTTP, and I just enable HTTP server. So once that's done, it is connected.
It's just not working.
Oh, so, you did extract it, he had the reference to, but it's going in error, that couldn't find a file, so I didn't extract it again.
Yeah, you gotta remove it from the library. No. Yeah, you remove all files. But you're using 7-zip extraction, or you're using, it looks like something else.
No, yeah, it was using the one from the computer.
Yeah.
Normally it works out for me, I don't know how it normally is.
Just end that task on task. Cause
That's
it's,
fine.
yeah, it's accessing that file and rewriting its file header with the decompression, so. But you should be able to extract it with 7-zip. Where's your file?
The file is gotta be here, right?
Where's it downloaded?
Over here, so, it's the documents folder.
It's one to the PC. Oh, wait, I put one on downloads.
None of those are good threads. So go back here, let me see. Okay. Remember why I told you last time, don't click anything. Right, when you don't save, it's gonna go into a temporary folder. Remember how it should pop up and ask you to save or not? Because right now, you're trying to open a file that's compressed. It's gonna open like a file that's locked, okay? But I want you to click the open file. Okay? Okay, so, and Windows is gonna try to open it like a regular file, but it is not a regular file. You see where this is placed? It's not on your desktop. It's not on your downloads. It's in the Edge temporary app folder, Microsoft Edge download. So you have to look at the path. So whenever that you use Microsoft Edge, you need to save your file and point it to where it's saved. The computer, when it does its own, you're not gonna know where it's placing it. So we need to go back a step to the folder itself, right? See, this is where it places it, not on your desktop or your downloads. I want you to right click that file and choose copy. Copy.
Right here?
Copy. No, copy. So it's gonna be, the copy symbol is next to the scissors, the two paper sheets at the top.
Copy up here.
And then go to your downloads, and we're gonna paste it there. Right click anywhere inside the folder.
Here's my folder.
No, not your downloads folder.
The down-
This one.
Right click. And then paste.
Paste.
Copy.
Which is the clipboard
Clipboard is-
at the top, just like how we're the copy symbol.
Oh, this one. Paste.
Okay. Good.
So now it's on the downloads.
Yeah, now
Right click.
it just highlighted, yeah, right click. Show more options. 7-zip. Extract file.
Click once.
Uh-huh.
Extract.
File, third option. Okay. Let it go, don't touch anything. So what's from? Says downloads. Yeah, so it's blocking you too, huh? Is it doing this for you?
Not for me, no, remote.
So you have, so when you download it, is it a bad download? No, it's a good download, right?
It's clean, you try something.
Oh, yeah, I download it.
Let's see if we do extract all here. Or extract the file. Yeah, you have to clone it, you can't copy the folder, otherwise it doesn't. You had earlier this week, you had this here. Let's see if it starts.
So this is where we got back.
Let's see if it starts. It's loading grab, so yeah, let it load and log in, you're fine.
Sometimes things you don't understand, times it works. Yes.
All right, any questions? I think it's just afraid of the teacher.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, so let's transfer. Anyone pass my USB?
Yes, I think the first time I encountered any virtual boards was in CIS25.
Yeah.
That was last summer.
That's what we had.
No, we made it 27. Yes, and that was in fall. So yeah, I already had a pretty good experience. More, I was home, downloaded on my computer and started playing around with it. So VirtualBox is something I use kind of constantly.
Oh, okay, so you load it into your computer.
Yes.
It's safe to use it, get you.
With the exception of some viruses,
Yeah.
most of them should be.
This year.
And you don't, yeah, so you wanna download.
It's on you.
And then I need to go.
Okay, so after that's done, right click that show off. Okay, open up the terminal, follow the steps.
I just follow 7. We're already in step 9.
Okay, so we talked about telnet, right? You would see that once you connect it, sometime if you press Control-C or sometime it times out, so it's gonna say close connection by the foreign host. If you are unable to connect to the target, it's gonna tell you connection failed. So telnet is gonna try to connect to that open port, and this is why we say close the port if you don't use it. So we know that port 80 is open because of HTTP, and we can telnet to the target to the port 80. Now, sometimes when you telnet to that system and it might have more information, it will display more. Okay. So we're gonna do a wget, and you're gonna do a dash, oops. Q, and then dash capital S, and then 10.0.2.15. Let me edit my view a little bit so you can see.
Why do we update?
Yeah, just type in the bolded command, sudo app update. And I should put it down for your instruction. You gotta type in the command and press enter. So here, when you're using wget, you're actually seeing the content of the header. Your status code, and it tells you your status code here, your server version, which is the software for your service for HTTP, the time, The content type, it tells you is HTML or text, the length. And then last modified, well, it's showing Sunday the 25th because our clock is not synced properly, right? Or set. And then the connection keep alive. So you can go through, use wget, and you will find information for HTTP header. That's part of the banner. So your status code are the 3 digits, and if it loads the page successfully, it will be 200 OK or received. Okay, then we're gonna do a curl or CURL and -S-I, and then you can always do the help option. So 10.0.2.15. And you're gonna get similar information to the last one because our target is the same, right? I want you to see that the to command is gonna give you your header information you're gonna get, but on the curl side, you do have a little bit less information where it doesn't give you the last piece here, the accept ranges and bytes and the E tag or the content. So make sure that we type the options correctly. So curl dash space dash lowercase s lowercase I. Yeah, so that means your option. The last one. Oh, so when you open up. Yeah, but you have to start, and you go back to this. You start the jigsaw. Yeah, that one floated. Okay, so that one is connected. How do I? So don't forget
That file.
they were
This one, yeah. No, yeah, it's what I.
yeah, so it's able to
Sorry,
download the
let's go back.
HTML file.
Oh, yeah, totally. It bothers me a lot, so.
Yeah, so
I had to
the
Google it.
status.
Stuff like that.
You have the link, so everything else it just organized it a little bit. Oh. You can try it again. Update it. Yeah, that's. Yeah, try running the command again. No, just keep scroll down to the bottom. And up arrow key and check your command. Yeah, so your nmap is working. I think curl, just check your options. So try from curl. Yeah, so look, your command, if it takes it, the options are gonna be highlighted in like a light green. Yeah. It cannot be white. If it's white, then it's off. It's wrong. Yeah, so that means the spacing is off or the symbol that you type is off. Even if you copy and paste, sometimes it doesn't translate the same from one application to the other. So yeah, maybe just retype it. The command and its option has to be in a different color. So if it shows white, then you're off with the characters.
said it had a bit less.
Yeah.
Just like you haven't scrolled down.
Oh, well, it's the same. Yes, thank you. I thought it was exactly the same earlier, but I was like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. So compare, so you can say it's the same. And then you can do what web. So we can do the next step, which is gonna be the what web. Now, keep in mind that these tools are equipped with Kali, right? So if you're using other version of Linux, Debian Linux, you have to install. So on some tool, you have to put in the HTTP. Some tool you don't. You just put in the IP. On this one, it's gonna try to pull it with URL. So it's gonna give you the status information or your status code. So that means that it's able to receive and respond okay. So you have the HTTP server and it tells you the software, the IP address for the server, the title for your web page. Remember that this comes with your index HTML file that we updated. And then again, the Jinx version for that. Okay. So you would see, and it's just different tools gonna give you different information. Some are more, some are less. So what web doesn't really tell you the content length or some of the connection status. So answer the questions for 29. And then we're going to revisit nmap where we're going to use it to perform an active scan. And on this one, we're going to look at the SV, which is going to give us some of the service information and the version, right? When you do a double dash version. So the intensity, because nmap, because it is an active scanner, we wanted to make sure that we can either dial it up or down. So here you can put the value and then the target, and then the dash P is for the port. So I'm gonna do an nmap, SV, and dash version. Intensity is gonna be 5, and we're gonna do a target 10.0.2.15 and port 80. So sometimes this might take a little longer, right? Because our target is a local host, so it's fairly quick. It tells me that my port 80 is open for my HTTP. And then it tells me the version for my web services and the type. I can tell that it's web because it's HTTP. So take a screenshot for 30. Put down which port is open and what software version is provided. Did it work?
Yeah, it was the dash.
Okay, yeah.
The wrong, it was the other dash versus the minus.
Yes.
Hers is all simple to read. It was.
Yeah, so and they usually color code your commands, so it's a lot easier to see. Yeah, so whenever it shows up as a command and option, it changes color. And then after we do the version with the intensity level, we're gonna use nmap, and this time we're gonna use the script. So we're gonna do an nmap, and you also gonna use SV, but instead of version, we're gonna give it a script. And you want to put in your parameter for the script is gonna be banner, because they have a specific script that's used for banner, and then you just put in your target IP or URL. And from what they told me, like nmap, if you're using IP instead of URL, it's quicker for a lot of the active tool. So if you're looking at the last information, we only found the open port, which is port 80. And remember that the intensity is level 5 in the last one. On the new scan for the nmap for step 31, it also pulls additional information. It pulls my server information instead of just port 80. In the last one, remember that we had only asked for port 80, so it doesn't look at other ports. On step 31, it's looking at the entire banner, so it's gonna give you the software for your server and the open HTTP for port 80. So that's a little different. It gives you your server header, right? Which it tells us that, so from a perspective of an attacker or someone who's looking at this, we would see that we can see the version of simple HTTP and the Python version. So you know that you have it coded with Python. So that's important to look at. And then if we go back down here, we can do a NICTL. And we're gonna do a -H for host. You've seen this before. So just put in the target IP. Now, if you're scanning NICTL and you have nothing here, basically no services or web app services that it can find. So because we enable damn vulnerable web, and then we also run open our HTTP, so web services, so you would see that it's here. Okay, take a screenshot, and you're gonna read into this section, and it's gonna tell you what type of header is missing or present. So for example, X content type option header is not set, so that's missing. And it tells you that it could allow a user to render the content from the site to the MIME. And then your anti-click jacking header is not present. So that means that some of these headers are not present. That would impose some security issues. So we can put that down for 32. And then we're gonna attempt to do HTTP print, right? So sudo app install HTTP print. Asking for passwords, so Kali. This used to be equipped with Kali Linux, and I think they took that out a while ago. So in order to use HTTP print successfully, you have to have a way that it can output something. It's not very good at displaying things on screen, where it summarized a lot of things. So what I did was I'm going to use a touch command to create a file for output called signatures. And you can look at their, the help option or the man help page for the HTTP print. So once you create this text file, you are going to do the command and host information and your target IP. And what we're doing is we're gonna put the signature into the text if it has it, right? If it could find or discover it. So it tells you that signature doesn't exist or corrupted with the signature file, so it doesn't have it. It tells you that here, and it gives you some information about the README. So now what we can do is we can go back and we can take a look at its help option, and you can also do file output and so on. From what I've read for the HTTP print, I haven't used it extensively, but this tool, if you use it with a URL that's, you know, that has signature, it's very useful to get the information.
Just keep on going, or take a photo of this.
And I'm gonna give you this answer because on the one here, it doesn't, it's ICMP. For, if you see this, if you see ICMP in the result, because for me, maybe I'm typing something wrong, but it's not able to get the signature. And you would see that it's using ping in order to pull some of that. So so this is an active scanner. Okay, or a banner grabber. Any help needed? Any questions? Yeah, so that means you type the command from, so you will curl like this. Dash. Minus two. S lowercase. No, this one dash. S. Space. Dash. One time. Oh, one time. So. Type a capital I like I am. No, I. Yeah. Say, no, yeah, it's I, and then 10, but actually 10.0. You know that whenever that's the proper option, it doesn't switch and change the color. Earlier, like. Yeah, so you must have had. Yeah, should have put it down. Any other questions? We're good? All right, so now we're gonna talk about FTP. We're almost done. And then we'll do SSH and we're done. So FTP takes a little bit of configuration. So first we're gonna install the VFSTPD. This is the package for FTP in Linux. And we are gonna use it. So after the installation, what you're gonna do is you are going to copy the configuration file. You always do that whenever you're gonna modify configuration file. So I basically create a different configuration file so I can add the configuration that I need to it. So I'm just gonna copy this because that way save a little bit of time. We're gonna move the configuration file and then we're gonna make a new file, and you need sudo for this because configuration file, you don't have privilege for that if you are a regular user. So you need root privilege. So it's gonna give you like a blank one like this. You just need to copy all of this section for 30A. Unless you want to type it, be my guess, right? If you type wrong, it's going to throw traceback error. And then we're going to go ahead and paste. Make sure we have all the components from listen no all the way down to allow writable chroot, right? Once you have all of these in, you're going to save by doing an exit in nano, control X. And then type Y for yes, and we're gonna save it as the same name. So we're gonna do a enter. It's gonna take you to terminal. So I'm at 39. After that, we are going to, so what you did was you put the settings inside the configuration file for our server, which is the same computer, Kali Linux. And now we're gonna activate it, or we're gonna start it. Now, the difference between enable and start, we know that in Linux, when you say enable here, it's only gonna activate when you reboot. So if you wanted to do immediately, do a start, okay? Sudo system control, CTL, start, VFSTPD. Oh, wait,
Yes.
yeah. VFST.
Right.
Yes.
My dyslexic is kicking in. Dyslexia is kicking in. I've been typing things backwards all day long. I must be tired. All right. Thank you. So we're gonna start the FTP server. So if you want to stop, so at the end, if you wanted to turn off services, you can do the same thing. Sudo system control stop, right? That particular package. Now we're gonna do and netcat. Netcat, if you look at their documentation, they have really effective example and clear example. So, well, we're gonna only listen in on one port, and at some point you're gonna have to do the cancel out. So we're gonna do an NC for netcat, and it's equipped with Kali Linux. We're gonna do a -L. We're gonna listen in on port 20. Why are we listening on port 20? Well, we're just gonna try to access the open port. We can listen in, maybe something is connected because we opened the port for connection purposes, right? So you might not hear anything here. My purpose of showing you is if you're able to see or connect to it, it's gonna show. So you're gonna have to cancel out of this after a minute or so, right? So Control C to get back. And then we're gonna try the next one, which is 42. So we're gonna do a netcat and we're gonna do a -Z. So having the Z there is a little bit quicker than not having it. If you're doing a -V, -VZ, what that does is it's actually gonna try to connect first and then scan or listen, so instead of listening, it's gonna try connection. And in the case of if it can't connect, it's gonna take a long time. So we're gonna do a -Z, -V, and then our target IP. And then we're gonna do a range for the port. So we're not sure which port that's open. So you can do 1 to 1000 or whatever that you deem that's sufficient. And netcat is gonna come back and it's gonna say that it's not able to do reverse lookup or inverse host lookup. That's fine. We never had set that up. That means that URL to an IP address and in reverse of that. And then for the unknown, it shows the HTTP, which is correct, and FTP. We just activated FTP, so we have that, right? So, and you can go to their documentation, other tutorials. There's tons of stuff on netcat. Netcat is a very common tool that most people know how to use, so you can try it. There are other, you can do the help to look at the options. So I just want to show you some of the basic. Any question? All right. The part for the last server that we're gonna do is gonna be our SSH. This is a little bit more complex because SSH require encryption. So here I give you a little bit of information about open SSH. It uses SSH protocol. All the traffic is encrypted. That reduce the risk in a lot of these things, but you know that happens too, right? So it established a secure tunnel. It has authentication and so on. So you can use this for remote connection. As I mentioned, you can connect directly with SSH or the others. And SSH uses port 22. Okay. So first, we're gonna do a sudo app list because OpenSSH is already equipped with Kali Linux. So sudo app list. We just need to find it. Open SSH -server. And though if you do an app list, it's just basically trying to find it in the inventory for you, and it shows up. It says that yeah, it has it. So if it doesn't, you don't need. Sometime you know it will prompt, but I don't think it's needed here. So we're gonna do a sudo update. We're gonna do an rc d-f SSH remove. This is gonna allow us to remove the run level for SSH. And then we're gonna load the default run level. So sudo update rcd. And we're just gonna change the remove to defaults with the S. Make sure that we don't have typo. So if you see typo, just redo the command again. And then once you do that, you're gonna move into the folder or the directory that stores the default keys. So we're gonna do a cd/etc/ssh/. And notice that your path changed here. And then you can copy and paste this one, which I'm gonna do. So one line at a time. When you make the directory inside the application directory, it's not gonna let you do it as a regular Kali user. So you have to be at root privilege. So we have to do a sudo for this. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a folder, right, for my keys. And then I'm gonna I'm gonna move the default key so it creates a backup of the keys in case for recovery. So when you typing symbol, just tricky, make sure that there's underscore for some of these names, but you usually can name however, as long as the static folder stays the same. So once we have our keys copied and moved, we're going to do a sudo systemctl, and we're gonna start ssh.service. Oh, wait,
You just change the S to another.
let's see if I can enable the socket first. Yeah, so it creates a socket. Let me see. Am I typing it wrong? Don't think so. Yeah, it's not able to, it's failed. Hold on, let me troubleshoot this real quick. I thought I did that earlier today.
Yeah, service is disabled or static unit is not running, not starting it. Yeah, so I can't reconfigure this. You guys stuck here too? Yeah, redo the service one again. Sometime it does that. Or you can also, yeah. Try, if not, you can try to reconfigure the package and then run the service. It worked for me. Ugh. These things sometimes. Could not execute system control invoke. It's fine. So in order to reconfigure, you have to have the socket and the service running. So think of a socket is like a connection route for that service to exist. So in order for the server to communicate, it needs to have the service and it needs to have a socket, right? A way to connect. And then sometime, you have to run the SSH service a couple of times, and then I can reestablish the socket. Yeah, it shouldn't throw any error after a while. So sometime, I would try to run this and it's gonna say, oh, I can't find the service, so I'm not gonna enable it. And then you can go back and restart this. Because sometime when you run this first, it doesn't work. So run the reconfiguration and then activate the service in the socket. So technically this should be done first, but I found out that when you try to do the reconfiguration, it needs a service in the socket. So it's like chicken and egg, right? Like sometimes you can't do it one or the other. So I would run the reconfiguration and I come back and I open the service in the socket. So that's the way that it's supposed to be done. So you might have to run 50 before 48, 49. If 48, you get stuck, do 50 and then come back, do 49 and then do 49 and then 50 and then come back and do 48 and it should work. I think it's the package issue. I mean, development is as good as can get, right? For open source. So telnet. So once we have the SSH, we can try to telnet it. And we're gonna use port 22. So I'm connected to it. It tells me which version of the SSH it is. And you should see SSH 2.0, open SSH, and then DBN3 is made for Linux. Any questions? Yeah, everything is good. So yeah, so like I said, so do 50. Yeah, that took it, then 49.
So when I went in order, I got it, so then I didn't get 50.
So you open the socket, it's established the socket, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And so when I put in 48, it's
Yeah, run it again. It says system control status. I just have to do such.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have to say, I learned on something. It lets me
So this one you have to do is say and it will tell you whether it goes or not. See how on the bottom it says SSH service. So it did everything else. It creates the key. When you guys install the reconfiguration package for SSH, you would see that it generate the SHA key. And then now we will do. Yeah. So we have to run the number 50 before you go back and do 48 because
That's the way it is. I don't know why, like it fails there every time. Yeah. I think like it needs some service from here because, right? Like if you do, and it needs to be a sudo. Yeah, I gotta edit that. I'm sorry. So do a sudo for 50. Yeah. So if your 48 doesn't work, if this doesn't work, run this and then number 50, but do a sudo and then run 49 and then rerun 48 again and it should work. Yeah, when you run it for the 50, watch, I'm going to show you. Oh, now it doesn't. But here, right, it would tell you at the end that it's disabled or static or not running. So you have to go in and manually start it. But it generated all the keys for your session for SSH. So it shows the SSH2 key, the SHA key, and all the other keys that it's generated. See? Remember, we made the folder before that to store the key. So it's going to place it there. And it's going to, and the only person that we can recover those keys are going to be the root user. See? So the only thing that we need to manually start is the SSH service. So if 48 doesn't work, run 50 with the sudo in the front, and then run 49 and then 48. And then after that, you can do telnet. And so with that, we would be able to see when we run telnet, we would see the version of SSH, which it tells me that it's SSH 2.0, Open SSH 9.6 P1, right, for Debian 3. And then we're going to use Dimitri. And we're going to do bind port for 10.0.2.15. So we are going to find, of course, we have port 21. That is for FTP. We did that earlier, right before this one. We just did SSH. So if your SSH is open and running, that is going to show up as port 22. We did HTTP at the beginning. That's 80. And for this particular scanner, for our system, right, it looked at 150 ports and it tells us 146 ports were closed. So the 3 are open and listed there, and then it exited. So take a screenshot, put down the ports that are open and the version of the SSH, which is the same one as what you've seen in the last one. So
so for a screen check, you need to press outside of the virtual box. So press over here, for example, and then you do.
Yeah, so segmentation involves some synchronous. So they can SSH service one?
There you go.
Okay, yeah, you started the services here. Oh, okay. So yeah, so it has the SSH version. Yeah, just run the Dimitri again, because sometimes, but do it, yeah, you can try do it with sudo and see.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it is. I didn't even think.
wait, I had it with just regular. It should take it regular. But make sure that your option is, you know, change green, like
Yeah.
B as in boy, P as in Peter.
Yeah, I have to put it on front.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if it throws an error for module when it can't read the file, then you just need to have sudo. Okay, so the last part is gonna be on OS footprint. And I tested a couple other tools to give you, but I was not successful halfway through. Like I wrote some steps and then it didn't work for some, so, but, we will explore more on the tool. So this is gonna be the tool for this is a common tool, right? POF is gonna be the one that you are going to use to identify for OS footprinting or fingerprinting. So you will find a lot of the information. Remember we talked about TCP IP stack, right? This is gonna listen in on your interface for your adapter, which is your F0. So whatever your adapter name, in this case, Kali Linux sees my computer is connecting with an Ethernet adapter. So we're gonna use that interface. And how can I find interface information? There are several commands, but the easiest one that you can find is gonna be IP address. Okay, and it should say inet, F0, blah, blah, blah. So Dimitri, sometime it's gonna keep on going and then it will finish, but it should finish because our system is not far from it. So we're gonna do a sudo apt install E0F. That's a 0, not an O. And then we're gonna issue the command and we're gonna do looking at the port with an interface, and the name of the interface is F0, ETH0. Yeah, so it's gonna give you summary like this. Did it give you intercepting traffic, close, file, signature, operating system, operation not permitted, location.
So it has a different effect.
Yeah, thank you. I think I did that earlier. A lot of these tools to use root privileges. So it might be able to run additional modules, I think, because hardware wise, yeah, you're gonna have to use sudo. You can also see how it has signature. You can also output it to file, and so on. Earlier, because when I test this several times when I wrote this lab in particular. Okay. See if it's able to output anything. You might need to give it some time. And if you can't find it, just put NA. But it's supposed to give you information. I actually like this tool. It has decent information. All right. So let's talk about the next one. We've seen the -O already, right? That's going to output for your operating system. And then we would use the 10.0.2.15. So for banner grabbing, a lot of the times we can rely on something like nmap. We can rely on telnet. We can rely on netcat. You know, some of the command straight out or some of the lighter tools in Linux is going to be useful. And then there are graphical user interface type of application. Burp Suite is supposed to be able to allow you to, you know, I think that's their proprietary version, not the community version, because I try to tweak the community version to even do anything. It's not really effective, but you can integrate a lot of these tools into the process of reconning or when you're grabbing banners. So the only thing that we're waiting on are these last two. And I can do an nmap -O, capital O, and then 10.0.2.15. Look at Gabriel's going good, see? Oh, needs a sudo. So the last step, you have to do a sudo.
So it's-
There we go. So for the OS scan, if it's able to detect it, it's gonna give you the information. Of course, it's gonna give you all the ports information. And it could not match the OS for the host to what is, so it looked at TCP IP fingerprint. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's not, right? But in here, it did have something that it would tell you that, oh, it might be Linux. And then it loads some of the OS values, I'm assuming characteristics, and it didn't. So there is a little bit of information, but no match exactly. So is that false positive or false negative? False negative. Yeah. No, yeah, it's not. So basically you're making it listen to that port, right? Instead of connecting to that port. So if someone is connecting to it, it's, right? So yeah, we'll do the next one.
For my 0F, do some